Hi there, Steve Whitty. Time for part two of April's finds. I hope you find you well. The weather out here in the UK at the moment is absolutely glorious. It might change by the time I publish this. I'm going to go through some more of the records that I managed to acquire during the month of April. So without further ado, let's get the ball rolling. There are a few live albums that carry some emotional weight, such as this one, Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New York, released just months after Kurt Cobain's suicide. It captures a side of Nirvana that hadn't been seen yet, sort of like a vulnerable, stripped down version of them. Unlike other Unplugged sets, they steered away from making it a greatest hits package. In fact, the highlights of the album are two of the covers: Bowie's "Man Who Sold the World" and Led Zeppelin "Where Did You Sleep Last Night," which closes the album. Those tracks, as I said, are really like the centerpieces of the album. And with Cobain's cracked vocals, it just gives it a raw sound to it. It is ragged, the musical performance, but it is purposeful. That's the word I'm trying to find. You have to excuse me. Sometimes my crooked mouth just gets in the way. Despite the imperfections, it does make it sound a lot more real. The band just keep the arrangements simple. I mean, that's the whole point of the Unplugged album. It isn't just a great album. It's almost like a final statement. It shows Cobain not just the reluctant rock god of the grunge explosion, but an interpreter of American music's dark side. It's, as 30 years on, it's still a difficult listen, but that's why it remains an essential listen. Here we have a rather tatty copy of The Wild Heart by Stevie Nicks. You can see that looks like somebody's cat has got the corner there. Vinyl plays fine. This was released in 1983. It was the follow-up to a solo debut, Belladonna. It expanded, I would say, her solo career. I think those that listen to Belladonna will say it's a polished record. This is more of a lush, shimmering pop rock record where it has slightly darker tones to it. It's an emotionally raw album. Tracks like "Stand Back," which feature Prince playing uncredited synths on it. She's embracing the glossier sounds of the early 80s on this record, and I think it really makes it sound really good. The lyrics are personal, touching on loss, independence, resilience, all wrapped in a poetic imagery that Stevie Nicks likes to use. On the production side, there's layers of synthesize. It's guitar, reverb. It has a bit of a grandiose quality to it. It can sound a little overwhelming, but Stevie Nicks' vocals cuts through it all. You've got songs like "Nightbird," which is a duet with Sandy Stewart, and "Beauty and the Beast," which shows the stillness and sensitivity to her sound. It didn't produce as many hits as Belladonna, but it's a more cohesive album. I think it's a record. You listen to this. This is a record that's come from Stevie Nicks' soul. If you make an album which ties in with a film, which is an Oscar winner, you may be tempted to produce more of the same. However, Prince was not your typical artist, and he came back in 1985 with "Around the World in a Day," which was credited Prince and the Revolution. And this is what we consider to be a bold psychedelic record that swaps the anthems for more swirling textures. There's some Middle Eastern flavours to it, so a lot of experimentation with it. This is Prince, how we like him at his fearless, and sometimes that can lead to him being misunderstood. You've got the swirling title track, then it just really points out that you're not in Minneapolis at the moment while listening. There's the childlike Paisley Park and the probably best known track, Raspberry Beret. It's also, I would consider to be the most accessible track on the album. But you've got trippy songs like Tambourine and A Ladder, which sort of like it dives into like spiritual searching. Prince even manages to touch on some social commentary with the track America, where, you know, again, it's sort of funky fringe package with that. Whereas the Purple Rain was a cinematic and direct, this album is dense, colourful and a little slippery. It can be a little disorientating on the first listen, but you keep listening to it, it reveals a lot more there, sort of from playful innocence to heavy reflection. But it's the thing that holds it together is Prince, his charisma, and the musical dynamicism of the revolution. This record does divide critics and fans alike, but it's a crucial moment in Prince's career. He was signalling that as an artist he was never going to be boxed in, and even when he was at the height of his fame. It's a beautiful record. It's sort of glimpses into the minds of someone who's daring and was always reaching for something more. And I love a good comp, as you know. I've shown many over the years, and I found another one really relatively cheap things. This is Reggae Chartbusters 3 on the Trojan label. Cover looks a bit tatty, but rare. And the rarity when you find a reggae in the cheap bins, actually the vinyl plays really well. It's not just a great hits package; it's a time capsule of where it reflects the moment where reggae really evolved and started getting into the pop charts. So the tracks on here, Let You Be Yeah by the Pioneers, Tell It Like It Is, Nicky Thomas, Monkey Span and Dave and Ansel Collins, Follow the Leader, Greyhound, Pied Piper, Bob and Marcia, One Big Happy Family, Bruce Ruffin, On Site 2, Double Barrel, Dave and Ansel Collins, which was, I think, a #1 record for him, Dancing in the Sun by Daniel in the Lion's Den, Black and White, Greyhound, Salt of the Earth by Dandy, Rain by Bruce Ruffin, and the song we used to sing, Desmond Dekker. It flows as a comp. It flows from one track to the other. It's an enjoyable listen, especially if you listen to it in weather like this. It's an essential listen for anyone that's interested in classic reggae. It's that cultural exchange that was happening between Jamaica and the UK in the late 60s and early 70s. Joyous, danceable, even got my feet tapping, but soulful collection that still sounds fresh even after over 50 years. Again, in the cheap bins, cover looking a bit tatty. It's the Staple Sisters, Let's Do It Again. Music was produced by Curtis Mayfield. It's a soundtrack for a movie of the same name, which starred Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby. It finds the Staple Singers at the smooth and soulful best. I haven't got much Staple Singers on vinyl, to be honest. It blends the gospel root harmonies with a sort of 70s R&B silky sound, which was overseen by Mayfield. Title track Slow Sensual Groove became a big hit in America. The whole album, it's very mellow funk rhythms with sort of laid back feel to it. It's an example of how the band sort of adapted their sound to the times while keeping the original spirit intact. If you see it, it's worth seeking out. Cat Stevens' Matthew and Son, his debut album, came out in 1967, and at the time when this album came out, he was only 18. It's a vibrant album, of youthful, sort of youthful album reflecting the age. There's some really great songs on this. The first three tracks, the title track Matthew and Son, with the orchestration, telling the story of a drudgery of going to work in an office. Then the follow-up single, I Love My Dog, again follows the same vein. And then the third track on here, Here Comes My Baby, which the Tremeloes would have a hit with. Despite it being a sort of sad song, it has such a joyous sound to it. You forget it's about somebody that's has unrequited love for a girl that he knows he can never have. But you got those songs, but then we all know him more for stuff like Tea for the Tillerman. You got songs like Portobello Road, which sort of hint at the direction he was going to go into. He made a second album, then became very ill, and I think from that period, that's when Cat Stevens, decided to just strip everything back and just have the acoustic guitar. It's a good debut album. It's a snapshot of somebody that's just showing promise, and we all know how his career panned out. This is an album you don't see very often in the wild. It's Yellow Magic Orchestra, and it's the album X multiples or X8 multiples. I don't know how you pronounce that little sign there, whether it's 8 or not. But this is an album that sees them at their probably the most playful. It's their sort of an eclectic release. It's showing the experimental side of the band. Technically, it's an EP at length, but it's treated as a full album. But it's a mixture of catchy synth pop, surreal comedy sketches, some funk on here. You got tracks like Nice Age and Citizens of Science. It sort of blends that bouncy synth sound, pop sound. Very much tongue-in-cheek, but extremely catchy. They do a cover of Archie Bell and the Drells and Tighten Up on here as well. It's got comedy skits in there. It's got humour. It can be a little bit jarring if you're not used to it. So it's because it's so different from a conventional album, but I think it underlines what Yellow Magic Orchestra are about. It's all about breaking down the barriers between art and pop and entertainment. They were just making a thrilling sonic world for themselves. It's bold, quirky, but it's infectious. It's not the most cohesive of records, to be honest, but it's fun, and that's what it's all about in the end. A band that I've got a lot of time for, and I've got a few of the CDs, but never had anything on vinyl, is Nada Surf. And this is their album, Never Not Together, which was released in 2020. It's what they do best. It's power pop, indie rock, with the jangly guitars and just the direct lyrics. It just feels like a warm embrace when you listen to it. It's a celebration of connection between the people, ideas and emotion. And at that time of 2020, it was something that probably everyone needed. You got the songs like So Much Love and Just Wait. They're just classic Nada Surf songs. Bright, tuneful, and there's a bit of optimism around those songs. Matthew Corse's voice I've always liked his vocals. But you've got songs like Looking for You, which has got sort of like synth textures to it. The themes of the album lyrically are empathy and interconnectedness, and there's a gentle wisdom to this album as well. It shows that life can be messy, confusing, but love and kindness are things that we can hold on to. It's very profound without being preachy. It's not reinvent. As I said, it's not a reinvention of the sound. It's a reaffirmation, and it's all the better for it. Saxon's debut album came out in 1979. It's a raw introduction to the band. They would the following year be one of the sort of leading lights of the new album, new wave of British heavy metal. But this album doesn't give any indication of what they were going to become. It's a bit of a confused album. The opening track, A Rainbow Theme, is very prog. But you've got Big Teaser, which wouldn't stand out as place on a glam rock album either. It's not. Were well known for their songs about motorbikes, and driving down the road on that motorbikes, and also steam trains and aeroplanes. This has none of that. I think it's a band that's just trying to find its sound, and in a way, you see the back cover there. You just see the band. The equipment's basic. It's clear that they're trying to find their musical the musical way on this album. But what you get from here is passion and energy when you listen to this, and it's a promising debut, and it does hint of things to come. It's sometimes with bands, it's all about timing, and got this album out. If this album had come out in 1980, no one would have known as Saxon. But because this came out in 79, they had time to put together some better songs for what became Wheels of Steel. This is an album that divides fans of the group Uriah Heep. Conquest, which came out in 1980. It's the only album that features John Sloman on vocals, and also it was the last album to feature Ken Hensley on keyboards and guitar. This is not the sort of bombastic big sound that you heard on the earlier albums. They were trying to hone a sort of like AOR, sort of smooth rock album. And in a way, its slick production sort of brings it down. There are some parts of emotional lyrics at emotional depth, but it's just a flawed entry into the back catalogue. It's overlooked a little bit. The band at this point were not in a good state. They were no longer selling the records, the amount of records they were at that time. But they were losing some of the identity that was making them well known, and I think that's what it suffers. It's not for the die-hard fan. It's more a curio than a classic like Uriah Heep album, and the band would go on hiatus after this album for a couple of years just to take stock. Mick Box, Trevor Bolder resurrected Uriah Heep a couple of years later. The final album I'm going to show you in this video is Judas Priest Rock-a-Roller, their debut album, which originally came out in 1974. This is a 1978 reissue. The band is pretty much got to its hardcore, which is Rob Halford, though he's known as Bob on the album, KK Downing, Glenn Tipton, and Glenn's only spelt with one N, and Ian Hill on bass. The drummer was John Hinch. And what could I say? It's an often overlooked debut. I think a lot of people sort of consider Sin After Sin as sort of like the debut. But it's not, you're not going to get the full metal experience that you'd probably expect from Judas Priest. It's more of a bluesy hard rock with some psychedelic touches on there. There's the hint of what they were going to become in the metal side. It's raw, it's unpolished, but it is different from the leather and steel Priest that we all know and love. It leans on the groove and atmosphere. You've got songs like Rock-a-Roller and One for the Road that have a just sort of jam-like feel. This is very much an album of its time. I mean, there is, I think it might be on YouTube. They appeared on Old Grey Whistle test promoted some of the songs of this album, and they looked a mid-70s band with what they were wearing. Yes, it's quite it's sort of like it's sort of like, it's hard to believe what they became. The album does suffer on the production side. It's very muddy, it's very thin, and it's surprising because it was produced by Roger Bain, who did the early Black Sabbath albums. And it, in a way, it doesn't do justice to what the band were at that time. It's more about lyrically, it's about grand themes of fantasy and rebellion, and epic battles, which Priest would take on into the later albums. It's an interesting album, if not uneven, but it's not the metal milestone that I think everyone would expect the album to be. But it's worth having if you're a Judas Priest fan. It's a band that's ready to evolve and explode into the world. So there you go. Those are all my April finds. Now, so apologies if the production's a little bit ropey, where I've tripped up a few times. I've been I sort of had notes, and the first video I was sort of trying to read them word for word, and I know you've probably seen me sort of like going like that just to check on my notes. But it is what it is. You know, I'm not producing iArt. It's just a video showing records ultimately in the end. So VC, thank you for watching. If you stuck with me so far, look after yourselves. Also, you know, if you like what you see, feel free to put a comment or thumbs up, thumbs down. I do love the interaction, and and if you want to click on subscribe, feel free to do that. More the merrier. So whatever you get up to, VC, enjoy the good weather wherever you are, and till the next time, keep spinning. More importantly, keep on smiling.